So like back in like late middle school, early high school, I used to bike across town to this person's house that I knew to babysit, and on my way there I listened to these things. They were like inspirational, motivational things. I don't know if that's why or not, but I think it definitely kind of made me want to be more bardic while playing these games. Have you guys ever had something like that?
No.
Yeah, no.
All right, guess I'm the only one. Welcome to Traveler's Tips and Tales. I'm Mike.
And I'm Jake.
And I'm Ben.
Today, we're going to be talking to you guys about bards, because they're fantastic. I am pretty much the only one in our group that ever really plays them. I don't know why. I guess people just hate bards, even though they are incredibly fun to play. If you want to play a bard, there's two main abilities that you need to focus on, and that is Dex and Charisma. Charisma is going to be the central focal point of your class, because that is the ability that you use to cast your spells. That is the ability that goes into, if you have a spell that people need to roll a saving throw, Charisma is going to determine how high of a saving throw they have to hit. Yeah. And Dex, you need armor to really be effective in this game, and Dex is going to play into your armor class. And if you have a higher armor class, you're less likely to get hit, which means you're less likely to lose concentration on a lot of concentration spells that bards have access to that are fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Also,
that is why. Yeah.
Also, just all the things that you become proficient with, like all the weapons, all the good ones at least, are all like dex-based, finesse weapons. You don't get proficiency in martial weapons in general. You just get proficiency in rapiers, short swords, and long swords.
Yeah, which is enough, because you also start with either a rapier, a longsword, or any simple weapon that you want.
Yeah, so another reason why Dex might be an important one for you.
Yeah, but moving on, there are 4 main unique features that we were narrowing this list down to for bards. The first one, and one of the biggest, you get it pretty much right away, and that is bardic inspiration. Basically what you get is you get a pool of these dice that you can hand out as inspiration to people to be able to do various things with.
Yeah.
The way that it reads is you can choose anyone of your choice, including yourself, within 60 feet of you who can hear you. And they gain a bardic inspiration die, which starts out at a D6. Later on it gets more and more up to a D12. And within the next 10 minutes, one time only though, the creature can roll the die and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. They can wait until they roll the D20 before deciding to use the inspiration, but must decide before they know if the roll succeeds or fails. And I talked about it being a pool of dice, and you know how many you have by what your charisma modifier is, because that's going to be equivalent to that.
Yeah. So just another reason why charisma is a pretty important one for you.
Yeah, it's right off the bat. At level 1, charisma is already affecting your features that you get as a bard.
Yeah, can you imagine if like Barbarian had a limited amount of rages based on like their con mod? That would be insane.
Dude.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous. R.I.P. Barb. Anyways.
Hard
Yeah. Anyways, another really key feature in the Bard class is the Jack of all trades. It's a feature that no other class has any type of, and basically what it is if you're not proficient with a certain ability check, then you get to add half of your proficiency bonus rounded down. So it's like you're at least a little skilled at everything. And it's pretty OP, if you ask me.
And I do want to add something to that. That includes your initiative.
Yeah. So that's pretty redonkulous. Because you also get that at second level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing you get at second level is a Song of Rest. And pretty much what that is kind of like your inspiration, but not exactly. Pretty much what it is whenever you take a short rest, you can expend one like use of your Song of Rest, and then you can, everyone who's in the area, all of your homies in the area can heal one extra die worth of whatever die your Song of Rest is at. You start out with a D6 and eventually get to a D12 when you get higher levels in the class. But yeah, so like, say, you know, you and your homies are all beat up after a bit of a boss fight, and y'all take a short rest, you can just fiddle your flute, and all your homies will heal a little bit nicer.
Yeah, and that one actually doesn't even have a pool of uses. That one is just anytime you take a short rest.
Yeah.
As
Which
long
is pretty
as
nice.
they expend hit dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last big unique feature that bards get is magical secrets. And magical secrets is one of my favorite things that this class gives you, because you can choose 2 spells from any class, and they do have to be of a level you can cast, which is fine, or they can be a cantrip, and they count as bard spells for you, and they are included in the number of spells known in the column on the bard table. But over the course of being a bard, if you go up to 18th level as a bard, then you'll eventually get 6 spells from whatever class you want.
Yeah.
That's really good, because each class has their own kind of selective list of spells that they can access, wizards having the most expansive. Mm-hmm. And being able to tap into that is just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I really like about bards is just how like unique you can build each one. So every person playing them will get a different experience playing a bard than anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they do a really good job of making it seem like it's a peg that could fit into pretty much any hole you need for your party.
Yeah. Bards can fill pretty much any role in a party, which is great.
Yeah.
That is why they are one of the most adaptive classes, as well as biggest support classes.
Yeah.
But why don't we go ahead and get into the different subclasses that you can access as a bard in 5th edition. There are 5 main ones between the Player's Handbook and Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which is just as important, I believe, in all of our opinions, as the Player's Handbook. Can't believe it took me as long as it did to finally get a copy of it. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the College of Glamour. Ben, would you like to talk about that?
Absolutely, Michael. I'd love to talk about the College of Glamour. First of all, you gotta say it like that, because the College of Glamour is literally about being as fabulous as possible. Okay? The College of Glamour Bard has a connection to the Feywild, where everything is magical and colorful and explosively amazing all the time. And those bards are everything that the Feywild is, but as a person. And you get some really amazing abilities, like you get to, as a reaction, just make yourself look spectacular, and everyone around you has to make wisdom saves or be charmed by you. Like it's stuff like that. Like, you basically mind control everybody by just being fantastic, like being absolutely fabulous all the time, and it is the most wonderful thing I have ever seen. Like, I don't even want to go into the abilities specifically, because they're all pretty much the same thing, but just different flavors of being fabulous. Like, if you perform for at least a minute, you can inspire wonder in an audience, or they're charmed by you, all of them. Or you can expend bardic inspiration to grant yourself wondrous appearances, to inspire people around you to do better. Or you cloak yourself in magical fey magic that, yeah, no, it's crazy. I love this. Yeah, and one of these lets you cast a spell called Command every turn. That's Mantle of Majesty for free, by the way. You don't have to expend the spell slot to do it. You just do it.
All right.
Basically, just become Simon Says, and you just start yelling out commands to people, and they do it. It's amazing. It would probably put a huge target on your back if your DM is any kind of intelligent, but
Yeah.
Who cares? That's just the cost of being fabulous.
Sometimes you just gotta be fabulous, man.
Price we all pay from time to time.
Yeah, true that.
Is that all for the glamour bard?
That's pretty much it. You just become a fabulous icon of gay pride.
Hey, man. There's nothing more noble.
There's nothing more noble. You're right.
Now, the next class, or the next subclass that we are going to dive into here, is the College of Lore bard. Now, College of Lore is basically learning more about things. You are focusing more on intelligent things, more studying and all of that. You're basically putting more wizard in your bard. And and this subclass has some kind of unique things to it. So whenever a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll, you can use a bardic inspiration and roll it to subtract the number rolled from whatever that creature rolled. So you're essentially just making it more difficult on the enemies to do anything useful.
It's like, it sounds like a negative inspiration, pretty much.
It essentially is, yes. And the only real thing to it is the creature is immune to that ability if it can't hear you or if it's immune to being charmed. So certain things like Fae might have the ability to resist charm. Elves have the ability to resist charm.
Yeah.
So,
you know what I'm hearing, dude? You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like those guys at baseball games that are just like, hey, better, swing!
Ben, you mean me? In a baseball game?
Oh my god. Jacob is just a lore bard.
oh no. Jacob's got that cutting words ability. Yeah, and then so we talked about how one of the big unique features of bards is to be able to take spells from other classes. Well, lore bards also get that ability, but they don't have to wait until 10th level to do it. They can get it at 6th level, where they can take 2 spells from any class of your choice. They must be of a level you can cast, and they do not count against the number of bard spells that you know. So it's somewhat better, somewhat worse, because at 10th level you're going to have access to higher level spells, but still being able to get another 2 free spells from whatever class you choose, that's always good in my book.
Yeah, just 2 extra.
Yeah. And then at 14th level, as a lore bard, you get Peerless Skill. So whenever you make an ability check, you can expend a use of your bardic inspiration to roll it and then add the number rolled to your ability check. You can choose to do so after you roll the die for the ability check, but before the DM tells you whether you succeed or fail. This one's not as huge of a thing in my book, but it's still nice because typically to use your inspiration, you would have to spend a bonus action giving it to yourself, and then you would be able to use it on whatever roll. But in this one, you don't even have to use your bonus action to give it to you. You just pull it straight from your pool of inspiration die.
Yeah.
So it adds a little bit more of you being able to do more stuff on your turn, but it's really not too big of a deal, at least to me.
Yeah.
So then next we have the College of Swords.
So if the College of Lore is just putting some wizard in your bard, the College of Swords is just putting some fighter in your bard. So when you take on College of Swords, you immediately get proficiencies with medium armor and scimitars. So it'll help you with your AC, your baby boy AC, and and you got a couple more options, a little bit more options for damage, melee damage. And then also you get a fighting style, and you get to pick between dueling and two-handed. That's it. So it's kind of nerfed fighter, but still fighter nonetheless. But then also you get these things called blade flourishes, and so basically you can expend a bardic inspiration to use a blade flourish where you get to add extra damage to one of your attacks, but you do like little things with it. So you have a defensive flourish, which you deal extra damage based on how much you roll from your bardic inspiration, and then you can also add the number you rolled to your AC until the start of your next turn. So, get a little more chonky. You can also do a slashing flourish. That one, you deal damage to your enemy. Your extra damage from your bardic inspiration, you deal that to your enemy, and then you can deal it to another enemy within 5 feet of that same enemy. So you can damage 2 people. And then the mobile flourish, you deal damage to the guy, and then he's also pushed back 5 feet plus whatever you roll, and then you can use up to your speed to get within 5 feet of him again. So it's kind of like you just like advancing. I imagine it like you advancing on you when you're fencing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what this sounds like to me?
It
sounds like Inigo Montoya.
Yeah. He's just a bit of fighter in his bard.
Right. He's a fencer. That's what.
Yeah. That's like. Yeah, I agree. That sounds a lot like Ignimo. I can't say his name. Montoya. My mouth is just bad today. It's okay. But then at 6th level, you get an extra attack. I don't really need to explain that one. You get 2 attacks when you take an attack action. And then at 14th level, you get a thing called Master Flourish, which pretty much, instead of having to use your Bardic Inspirations, you can just use a D6.
Nice.
So that's nice. It nerfs it because you get a smaller die, but all of a sudden now you have like unlimited uses of it because you don't have to use a bardic inspiration anymore. So pretty nice. And you start to get to be able to inspire your homies again, and
Yeah. So next is the College of Valor. Now, the College of Valor is kind of similar to the College of Swords in the way that it adds a little bit of fighter to your bard, but I think it also adds kind of its own unique twist to that. So at 3rd level, when you take College of Valor, you get proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. So you can do a lot more defensively and offensively besides just your magic. And also at 3rd level, you learn to inspire others in battle. You can give a creature bardic inspiration, and then they can roll that die and add the number rolled to a weapon damage roll. Alternatively, when an attack roll is made against the creature, it can use its reaction to roll the bardic inspiration and add the number rolled to its AC against that attack before knowing whether it hits or misses. So if you have an enemy that's coming after you and you have an AC of 17 and they roll a 19. Okay, now you roll your bardic inspiration, you roll a 3. Now your AC is 20 against that attack and they miss.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. To be able to just avoid a hit entirely.
And that's not even necessarily the bard. Like, that could be anyone in the party. He just gave that inspiration to, the fighter or the barbarian or whatever,
Yeah, or if an enemy has 3 or 4 hit points left and you roll 2 damage somehow, you can roll your bardic inspiration and see if you can get that extra couple damage, so that way the enemy is gone and they don't get their next turn. It ends combat a lot quicker and makes combat a lot safer for you and your team. once again, with Valor, you also get an extra attack at level 6. So you get 2 attacks. And then at 14th level, you get Battle Magic. And this is the art of weaving spell casting and weapon use into one act. And when you use your action to cast a bardic spell, you can make one weapon attack as a bonus action. Now, remember back to those secrets that I told you about where you get the 2 spells from different classes. Those are listed as bardic spells when you take those, even though they're originally from another class. So you will be able to cast those ones as well, and it's just fantastic. But that being said, that's going to be a 1 action spell, and then your attack is a bonus action, meaning you don't get your extra attack. So just keep that in mind if you're making a Valor Bard, that you don't get that extra attack if you're using a spell for your action. All right, and then last we have
I think it's interesting. Just a little note that they get for the ones that are kind of like melee bards, they do get the extra attack, but it's at 6th level, and I feel like that was a really good move on Wizards of the Coast to make it so it's like to show off that they can be whatever, but because they're so good at everything, they're a little bit late to the party. And I really like that idea where it's like everyone else, all the other melee fighters get extra attack at 5th level, but Bard, who is also capable of doing all this extra other stuff, like casting spells from, who knows what class.
Yeah.
But and they're also in the fray there, but just a level later. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very unique thing. Our last college is the College of Whispers. And what that is... Alright, so moving on to roleplay. If you know what College of Whispers is, you get the joke, and you should go read up on it, because seriously, I don't think we're going to actually cover that one because of what it actually is. Just to be in the nature of what it
College
is.
of Whispers.
Yes. So now we get on to how to roleplay a bard. There are many ways to roleplay a bard, but for some reason, the majority of people end up kind of lumping themselves into just one general way. This one way is typically to kind of over-sexualize everything and start being more of just like horny, and that's not what it's meant to be, because that's just what people think of charisma. But charisma is just having a compelling charm about you that can inspire devotion in others. Now, this can range from maybe just being a very intelligent person and being able to lead a conversation in various ways. This may be just having a very bright energy about you, and whenever people get around you, they also feel that bright energy. That is your charisma kind of taking over the situation and really providing a little bit of warmth for the whole group, and it's still taking that ability to affect a whole group around you while not being the over-sexual person that, honestly, that's a trope that I'm getting so tired of in this game. It's so annoying every time. I know,
like 9 times out of 10, I would be just so much more excited to have a very excitable person rather than just a person who wants to have sex with everything.
Yeah, there's one person in our group that when we first started playing with them, that was all they did was just play a very over-sexual person, and I couldn't stand it because it just got in the way all the time. But they've changed. They've gotten better about that. But that is my opinion on role-playing a bard, is kind of taking those different personality types that are still kind of the center of the room, kind of holds everybody together. Yeah. What about you guys? What are your guys' ideas on role-playing bards?
So, I have a kind of different, but also kind of similar approach. in my opinion, bards are those people who, being the charismatic jack of all trades, support, they can do anything, they can fill in any role, they are a little bit good at everything. They are
Yeah.
kind of glue that holds this group of ragtag people together. If you think about it, they are the person that can recognize, maybe they're not the best at any particular thing, but they can say, hey, we need to sneak in and we need to pick this lock and get through this place. Let's go. Me and the rogue are going to go, and I'm going to keep an eye out while he does his thing. Or, we have to go in and we have to talk our way out of this situation. Let's get someone like the paladin who has that good reputation and very charismatic, and I'll help him. I'll give him that inspiration. I'll give him that what he needs to get through this. Or wizard is trying to research these arcane secrets, and I'm not necessarily very good at researching as much as he is, but I know my way around a library. I'll go help him research. I'll help him look. And being that, it gives them this great roleplay opportunity to be the kind of intermediary whenever there's kind of inter-party conflict, for the bard to step in and be like, hey, let's talk this out.
Yeah.
Or to go off with somebody and be like, hey man, what's bothering you? And then go to the other guy and go like, hey man, what's bothering you? And then in the same room together and being like, all right, lock the door, and then they run.
They dive out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, my take on the bard is kind of in a similar fashion. I think it'd be interesting because I always like the bards. I think it's so much fun to try and think of a bard that doesn't actually have any like musical talent. They're just like a really cool dude or something, And so like my thought of the bard is kind of like this psychological, or like a psychologist, if you will. And so like they're just there to help out the party wherever they need it. Someone needs to pick me up or what have you. And yeah, it's kind of like another take on Ben's type of bard, but just the extra flavor of they don't actually sing or anything. And so like their inspirations are just like inspirational quotes, or they're just like supporting the party members. They're like the fighters in there. He's just like, you can do it, or like, watch out, he always swings from the left, like like that's his like inspiration, kind of.
Even like another weird bard idea is this character I'm hopefully going to play in Michael's game, Daryl Fitzgerald. He's because of Pathfinder rules, dual-classed cleric bard. So what he does is he carries around a book of laws that he's a lawyer. And he carries on this book of laws, and his like counter spell would be like him yelling objection, or like he invokes laws instead of just being a bard. He is like a defense lawyer, and he talks in court all the time, and he invokes his spells through his book of laws that he carries around with.
That's so great. I feel like if he was a 50 bard, he would be a lore bard. Throw some quote unquote wizard in that defense lawyer.
Oh, absolutely.
But moving on, I think Ben, let's go on over to Ben's magical item corner.
Ah, yes. Well, hello and welcome to Ben's Magic Item Corner. Well, today we talk about the greatest low-level items for bards, in my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
First one I want to talk about. One of the greatest things about bards is their charisma and how well they can lie and cheat their way out of dangerous situations. Now, normally, you would want something like a hat of disguise, maybe. Okay? So you can cast Disguise Self at will. But, hear me out. Disguise Self, dangerous, risky to use. If they touch you, they'll go right through you. It doesn't always work. However, the Circlet of Human Perfection does a spectacular job of creating this perfect roleplay opportunity and perfect disguise for any aspiring bard. What it does is it lets you take on the form of a very attractive, very average in every way, but very attractive humanoid being of any humanoid race.
Yeah.
And it sets you as basically an average example, but a very attractive one, of any humanoid race at all, and you don't really have control over the features that it gives you. You just become that. But you really become it, as long as you wear that circlet. So, instead of just be like, I'm going to disguise self, I have horns, I'm a tiefling. Well, you don't really have horns.
Yeah,
if you say,
someone tried to touch them, their hand would go right through.
Yeah, but if you say, I'd like to become a tiefling, you are now a tiefling. You really are. You look like it, you feel like it, you are.
Yeah.
And you just make it up as you go. Be a bard. Be the strange, charismatic man that gets people out of weird situations. Or just, if you're a wanted criminal or something, just put that circlet on. Put it on.
Try and get away from the police.
Yeah. The second item, because a lot of bards, depending on your subclass, you could, but most bards are not going to get a lot of armor.
Mm-hmm.
You're very dexterous. You rely a lot on dex for your armor. So my next suggestion is the Cloak of Protection, which gives you an increased armor class. And it's a beautiful thing because most bards, when you think of them, they wear cloaks anyway. So why not turn it into a Cloak of Protection and get that a plus, I believe it's a +2, +1 or +2 to armor class.
I think it's +2.
I think it's +2, yeah. It's basically the equivalent of carrying a shield around, except you look fabulous. And you have this nice cloak that just, look at that armor class. You can't
actually. I'm pretty sure it's a +1.
Is it a +1?
Yeah.
Well, let's assume this is a +1 Cloak of Protection.
Okay.
Why not?
Sure.
Screw it. It's a +5 Cloak of Protection. That's
oh goodness. 5. It's a legendary item. Put on this shawl, you are now untouchable. I'm picturing like a nerfed Doctor Strange cape where it's just like blocking the cape is blocking the hits for you.
Oh man.
When things inevitably don't go your way, you roll that nat 1 on deception or persuasion or whatever, and people get hostile, that cloak might just save your life.
Just making you a little bit more slippery than you should be.
And with you saying that it makes you more fabulous, I think you have to have that if you're a glamour bard.
Oh no, actually, there's an even better one for glamour bard. It's what was it? It was the Cloak of Many something. It lets you change what the cloak looks like at any moment.
Ooh.
Like
Let me see here.
The Cloak of Many Fashions. It's a common.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, you use a bonus action to change its style, color, and apparent quality of the garment. you just change that up however you want.
Nice.
Which actually fits really well with the Circlet of Human Perfection, but not the point. The third item that I have today for Bard is called the Eyes of Charming. These are a pair of glasses that you wear, and they let you basically cast Charm Person once per day. And it might not seem like a lot, it's not very good. You can't use it that many times, but
it's 3 times per day.
Is it 3 times per day?
Yeah, so
it's 3.
The way, it has 3 charges, and then you use 1 charge to cast it, and then it regains 1d3. Or wait, no, it regains all charges at dawn.
Yeah, so 3 times a day lets you cast Charm Person, which, yes, Charm Person has its dangers. Don't let it wear off when you're still around them. But it can save you.
Yeah. Imagine you get caught doing this very small petty crime, and this guard has you cornered. What do? Smooth talk him a little bit. Doesn't work out. Charm him. Continue smooth talking him a little bit. Get the heck out of there, and then you're too far away. You got your amulet or your circlet on. You look like a new person. He can't find you anymore. Boom, you're good. They're not gonna put out a wanted poster for you stealing a loaf of bread or whatever. You're off scot-free. Good job.
Yeah, but if you aren't stealing a loaf of bread with all of these magic items in your possession, what are you doing? You could be doing anything right now, dude. You could be running this town, okay?
Hey man, I was hungry. Leave me alone.
I was hungry.
It looked really good.
Yeah, these are my 3 magic items that I think work for bards. Then again, though, because of the way that bards are and how versatile you can build a bard, really there is no definitive list of magic items that would help any bard ever. Obviously, cloak of protection, you could put that on anybody, so that's kind of a cop out. Not gonna lie.
Honestly, it's kind of good for any spellcaster.
It's
all them boys who can't wear armor.
It's good for literally anyone ever.
But it's especially good for spellcasters.
Yeah. Hey, can you make my AC not 11? Thanks.
Hey, I'm a fighter with a circlet of protection and the gloves of protection and the cloak of protection and +3 plate armor and 2 shields. My armor class is 33.
Hey, but that being said, if you do want to be a bard with a just decently high natural armor, be a turtle.
You ain't wrong.
If armor class is ever a problem for you, play a turtle.
armor class is not a problem for turtles, I promise.
True that.
I think it's like 17 that they get naturally.
Let me look it up. Let me look it up real quick.
Anyway, not the point. The point is, as a bard, pretty much, I would say just about every magic item you can find out there, you can find a way to make use of it because of just who you are and what you are and how very all over the place you can play it. So
you gain a natural +4 to AC as a turtle. So 4 extra on top of whatever.
Yeah. Although you can't wear armor.
Yeah. That's true.
But not the point.
Oh wait, no, I read the wrong part. Hold on. Natural armor.
Man.
Yeah, AC of 17. But you can go into your shell to add 4 on top of your 17. So
Anyways.
there you go. 21. You're just a little ball on the ground though.
Although I
anyways,
also pop out to give inspiration every turn. Just like,
now I'm just picturing this bard psychologist turtle just like hiding in its shell, popping out, just like, you can do it, and then he hides again. He's like, this like big beefy cultist or whatever is just trying to play like whack-a-mole with him. He keeps missing him. He keeps popping out different like
he pops out,
like
he pops out and he yells to the rogue, "Imagine he's your father!" And then he goes back. The rogue gets a crit right then, just like. Argh.
But the rogue has to take a long time explaining to the enemy what happened, why it's such an insult to be his father.
Yeah. I was raised on the streets, all alone, with no one to protect or guide me.
Yeah, and to Ben's point of being able to take basically any magic item and fit it in, I mean, that reinforces the unique feature, jack of all trades, man. You're good at everything. So if you need a magic item, pick one. You can use it. Unless it requires attunement by a certain class or race.
Yeah,
and maybe you can't use
throw it in the garbage. It's worthless.
Yeah, if you can't use it, nobody can.
Yeah. That's what I like.
If you're not good enough, no one is. Because you're fabulous.
But to wrap up Bards, we wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit of a screenshot into the life of one of our characters. Again, this is one of my characters. This is a human bard from the College of Valor, and his name is Jinty. Now, Jinty, I mean, he's not going to be a bard all the way through if he makes it to level 20. I'm sad about that, because there's going to be some cool things that I'm going to miss out on. But
yeah,
it's for other reasons that I'm going to kind of multi-class him into a few different things. But Jinty, as a bard right now, he's currently level 5, and he focuses a lot on archery as well as performing. Now, performing wasn't necessarily a huge part of his life, but once we got into the game, he had a chance to perform at a circus, and being a bard, he has a very high performance ability modifier. So
Yeah.
he rolled for performance, got I think a natural 20 on top of his modifier, which let me double check real quick what his modifier is.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
His modifier currently is 11. I think it might have been 9 at the time.
We're level 5.
Yeah, I think
He was level like 3 at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, figure natural 20 plus 9 is... I think it was a plus 9 at the time. So, 29. That is a phenomenal performance. And he made hundreds of gold off that.
Yeah.
And that helped him kind of buy some new things, helped him spread the wealth around to some people in a town that needed it.
Yeah.
We wandered into this town where they were getting terrorized by the guards from the nearby stronghold city, and
A
they were
corrupt
basically-
stronghold city.
Yeah, they were basically having to pay protection, which, okay, I get it, some towns will have to do that. But these guards were coming back 2-3 times a day and requesting the same amount of money that they were only supposed to get like once a week. So you could see the problem that this town was having. So we went into this town, and Jinty, trying to be more of an inspirational leader, because all he really wants in life is to become a city guard. He keeps on getting denied, and he keeps on trying. So once he sees that these guards are being corrupt and that they're destroying this town's livelihood, he gathers the town together and, along with his fellow party mates, inspires this town of, what was it, 30, 40 people?
Something like that. Not many.
Small little town, dude.
To be able to take on all of the forces that were placed in this town to run it. And we developed a strategy where everybody had control of some frontline fighters, and everybody had control of some archers, as well as some fire bombers. And Jinty pulled this whole plan together. He may not have been the best at executing this plan, but my God, did he pull this together and pulled the whole town to one goal.
I personally think that one long combat, I think Jinty had the best time. He had the least hiccups.
He did have the least hiccups. He lost
Everyone
the
else
least
had
amount
a lot
of people.
problems.
He lost the least amount of people, at least for the longest time.
Yeah.
And he was missing some shots, but for the most part, his people were all alive. Whereas other people were having issues where they were missing their shots, but they were missing so bad that they killed each other.
It was terrible. We were thinning our own lines. But I do think that out of all, you have a couple of characters that are bards, but not 100% bard. You multi-class into bard a lot, I feel like. But I feel like Jinty is the most bard out of all of them. And I know it's possibly because he hasn't multi-classed yet, so he is all bard still. But I feel like he's stuck true to being a bard the most out of all of your other characters that have at least dipped into bard.
Yeah, the other main notable character that I have that is at least dipped into bard is Ignomaeus, or Iggy, as his friends like to call him. And, I mean, Iggy, I will say, he is the only character that I've had in Ben's world that has not died yet. Yet
Ironically.
being the key word here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so back to Jinty. After pulling this whole town together, after the 4 people in the party accomplished this goal of driving out or killing all of the guards, we were able to secure the town so that way the townspeople felt safe again. And now we're undertaking a huge job trying to rebuild this town. They built us a mansion like overnight.
It was ridiculous.
We're going to expand their town a little bit. We're going to try to set up an actual defensive wall, train a bunch of them in different fighting techniques, whether that be frontline in your face with a sword or a hammer, or being in the back on a guard post with a bow and arrow or a crossbow. And Jinty, I love him, man. He's such a good character. He's one of my favorites.
He's very optimistic, too.
He is. He's not as wholesome as Landers, but
he still has that, like, that optimistic vibe that Landers gives off.
Yeah. So he's one of those charismatic characters that, I mean, sex isn't even really on his mind. He just wants to go out and make the world a better place for everybody. And, I mean, yeah, bad things are going to happen along the way. Some of them might be his fault. But he's going to do his best.
Also, can I just point out that Jinty is also in a party with someone who absolutely despises all bards?
Yeah, and that's a challenge within itself, because he has to be very careful not to prove this other player character as having the right feeling, because his player character has had bad experience with bards.
I think he's done a real good job, because it hasn't really been a problem yet.
Yeah, Jinty has not, like, done anything close to what that player character is mad about.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why that's my player character.
Yeah.
it's Ben, if you didn't know.
It's Ben's player character that is a combination of a barbarian and a fighter. Basically, the screw all spellcasters build.
Even though he does have spells.
Yeah.
Because he's a Totem of the Bear barbarian, and he is a Eldritch Knight fighter.
Yeah. It's pretty good. He can kill anybody he wants to, essentially. And there's nothing that my Jinty can do about it, but that's why Jinty's trying to stay on his good side. So that way it doesn't come to that.
Yeah.
Jinty is very careful to not piss off Roar. Because Jinty knows how Roar feels about bards.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to add that, but Bailey just took it and ran with it, and now it's a thing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It's alright.
But that all being said, that is what we had for you today to kind of bring a little bit of bard to your life. Hopefully you're not afraid of playing a bard, because I promise you, yes, for some people it's not going to be fun whatsoever, because the support play type just doesn't fit for some people. But if you're interested in playing some sort of support, you've played cleric before and you liked it, try out bard. You might find out that you'll really enjoy it. And if you don't like being support, then just be a valor bard, because you can do everything yourself.
Yeah, pretty much.
So with that, let's go ahead and just get into the social media. Let them know where to find us. Ben, Jacob, why don't you guys take care of that?
Well, you can find us on Instagram at Travelers Tips and Tales. We also have a Facebook page at Travelers Tips and Tales. We have a Twitter at Tips Tales. We also have a Tumblr page with Travelers Tips and Tales. We have a Patreon where you can find it, guess this, Travelers Tips and Tales. We also have an email address, which is travelerstipsandtales@gmail.com. And we also upload all of our videos to YouTube, all of our podcasts to YouTube, and also have big plans in the future for YouTube. And that's Travelers Tips and Tales as well.
Wait, we're on YouTube?
Yeah, we are on YouTube, Michael.
Whoa!
That's crazy.
That's huge. I can't believe that we've been on YouTube this whole time.
If you want to have almost the exact same experience, but also look at our logo, you could watch on YouTube.
Sometimes we throw in unique pictures that fit what our story is about.
Very rarely, but yes.
Now, Ben, explain to them what they can find and what they can expect to see on our Patreon, because you do run that.
Yeah, so, Patreon, it's a lovely place where no matter what tier you belong to, you are all equal on our Discord server. You are all welcome to talk to us and our guests and the other patrons that, are on there. Also, you can gain access to our videos early as soon as we are done with them, which is generally the day before they post, but sometimes earlier. You also get access to a whole bunch of homebrew custom content that is made by yours truly, that I go ahead and post on there. And, depending on your tier, you actually get to talk to us. All of us, the travelers.
Whoa!
Yeah. That's pretty neat.
1-on-1 or 1-on-3, depending on how you roll.
And I will say, at the time of recording this, we still have 2 slots open for Patreons who join. The first 2 following this will be able to speak on our podcast with us at some point. We already have 1 out of the 3, so there's 2 left. Be one of those 2. Come on here and talk with us. We want to talk with you guys. We want to communicate with you and build rapport with you, because that's what D&D is all about. Expanding the game, expanding your friend list that you play with.
Community.
Yeah, it's awesome. Also,
Sorry, what was that word you just said? It just sounded to me like work. That's what it sounded like.
Community sounds like work.
Ah, God, it hurts.
Also,
Michael,
I want to go ahead.
We have his Achilles heel.
I want to go ahead and remind you guys to check out your local game stores. We have our local one here, Forgotten Path Games. They have been huge supporters of the show. They allow us to kind of do a little bit of advertisement at their shop. They let us hang up posters and stuff. They listen to our podcast. Thank you guys so much for being there, supporting us. Thank you for giving us the awesome Atmar's cartography set for us to test out a few episodes ago.
It was pretty cool.
Seriously, go to your local game stores, support them. A lot of them are possibly struggling in this time of COVID because of the economic situations going on in people's lives. Supporting them might be the difference in them staying open or closing.
Yeah. Remember, you can always use another pair of dice. Another set of dice.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of the bard colleges that we mentioned today are in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Maybe you still need to pick up that book.
Also, Xanathar's is just a great book. It has a lot of subclasses for every class.
Yeah.
So it's just a
fantastic.
It's definitely my recommended. Take it from the guy who only bought the PHB for like 2 years. If you're gonna get another one, get this one.
Yeah, it really is fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed this episode of Traveler's Tips and Tales. Until next time, I've been Mike.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Ben.
Community.